Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. This is James, and in this video, let's talk about science and if something like The Walking Dead could ever really happen. The Walking Dead has captivated audiences with its intense drama. It's got compelling characters and a terrifying vision of a world overrun by the undead. But how much of this apocalyptic scenario could actually happen? Not just the undead, but let's look at it as a whole. Today we're diving into the science behind the zombie apocalypse. Could it really happen, or is it all just a nightmarish fantasy? To understand if a Walking Dead style apocalypse is possible, we first need to look at the origins of the virus in the show. The Walking Dead never explicitly details how the virus started or spread, not yet anyway, but we know it causes the dead to reanimate and the living to die in turn after being bitten. So let's start with the most important question. Could a virus like this exist in real life? In the real world, viruses are capable of causing devastating diseases, and some can even manipulate the behavior of their host. For example, the rabies virus can cause extreme aggression in infected animals, leading to biting and the further spread of the virus. And in a similar fashion, the parasite Toxoplasma gondii, if I'm saying that right, can alter the behavior of rodents, making them less fearful of predators. Again, to spread the parasite. But could a virus or parasite reanimate the dead? Biologically, reanimating a dead body possesses significant challenges. When a person dies, their body begins to decompose almost immediately. Cells break down, the brain ceases all function, and the body's systems shut down. Even if a virus could somehow restart a heart or move muscles, without a functioning brain to control these actions, it's unlikely the body could perform coordinated movements, let alone hunt for food. However, if we shift our focus to the living, the scenario becomes a little more plausible in the way that certain neurotoxins like those found in pufferfish can induce a state of paralysis and even mimic death. And that's the key word, mimic death. You could have a certain situation where someone seems dead, you might think they're dead, and then they come back to life. You think, oh my God, it's the undead, when really they were never really truly what we call dead in the first place. In some cultures, these toxins have been used in rituals to create so-called zombies, people who appear dead but are later revived in a trance-like state. But these individuals are still alive, and their brains remain intact, unlike the fully reanimated dead as seen in The Walking Dead. Behavioral manipulation by pathogens does occur in nature, and that's something more like we could see. The cordyceps fungus, for example, infects ants and controls their behavior to ensure the spread of the fungus. And that's just crazy daisy, right? I mean, just thinking about fungi evolution, along comes this certain type, and it's like, hey, I need to figure out a way to reproduce. The many, many different ways in nature, I choose taking over these ants, manipulating their behavior. Just a little helper in spreading the joy of cordyceps. In theory, a virus could evolve to alter human behavior, making infected individuals aggressive and driven by a basic need to spread the infection. And that's a big thing, like I was talking about in a lot of this, is that it's actually a reproduction type thing, spreading the infection. But again, this would involve living hosts, not reanimation of the dead. But what about the spread of the virus itself? Could it really bring society to its knees so quickly? Well, history has shown that pandemics can spread rapidly and cause widespread fear and disruption. The 1918 flu pandemic, for example, infected a third of the world's population and caused millions of deaths. More recently, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated how quickly a virus can spread globally, overwhelming healthcare systems and causing significant social and economic disruption. So looking at the 1918 flu pandemic, it's hard to compare it to COVID-19, but at the same time we can as far as looking at society. And, I don't want to get into any political or what you believe about this or that or anything like that. We're just talking about, could this happen in society? And we're looking at different times in human history as far as COVID-19 and the 1918 flu pandemic, just to see about how society could fall, even if it's just us overreacting. But in 1918, let's look at that for a moment. Of course, the 1918 pandemic is also known as the Spanish flu. It had a profound impact on society globally. It infected about 1/3 of the world's population. That's roughly 500 million people, caused an estimated 50 million deaths, and some estimate it could go as high as 100 million. It's one of the deadliest pandemics in human history. Hospitals and medical facilities were overwhelmed with the sheer number of patients. There was a shortage of healthcare workers. Many fell ill themselves or succumbed to the virus. And of course, in 1918, there were no vaccines or antiviral drugs to treat the flu, and antibiotics to treat secondary bacterial infections like pneumonia were not yet available. So this lack of medical interventions, of course, led to higher mortality rates. Many cities and towns imposed quarantines, closed schools, theaters, and public places, and canceled public events. People were encouraged to wear masks and avoid large gatherings. I mean, doesn't that sound like the COVID-19 thing? But I'm still talking about the flu pandemic of 1918. There was a high mortality rate, and at the speed at which the flu spread, it led to widespread fear and anxiety. Many people avoided contact with others. It led to social isolation. Businesses were closed. Public transportation was affected. Some places, services like mail delivery and garbage collection were disrupted. The pandemic led to significant labor shortages as many workers fell ill or died. This had a ripple effect on industries, agriculture, and the economy at large. There was an economic downturn because of the reduced workforce. It decreased consumer spending. Disruptions to supply chains caused the economic slowdowns. Some businesses suffered permanent closure due to the prolonged impact. Again, sounds a lot like the COVID-19 times that we lived through. Troop movement. This was during World War I. Troop movement spread the infection across the continents. Soldiers living in close quarters. It affected both the military and civilian populations. It reduced the number of available troops. It weakened the war effort on both sides. Some historians believe the pandemic may have influenced the timing and outcome of the war. So looking at a Walking Dead-like scenario where everyone is infected and reanimates after death, the spread would be even more devastating. Even without reanimation, a highly infectious and deadly virus could collapse societies, leading to chaos, violence, and the breakdown of social order. The fear and panic alone could lead to the kind of societal collapse depicted in the show. So, could a Walking Dead apocalypse really happen? The short answer is not exactly. While viruses can cause pandemics and behavioral changes, reanimating the dead remains firmly in the realm of fiction. However, the idea of a pandemic causing widespread societal collapse is not as far-fetched. The fear, chaos, and breakdown of order depicted in The Walking Dead are all too real in a world where infectious diseases can spread rapidly and unpredictably. While we may not need to fear the Walking Dead rising from their graves, the science behind pandemics reminds us of the importance of preparedness, resilience, and the value of community in the face of disaster. I did a video recently on preparedness, and that's a big thing. It doesn't matter if it's an apocalypse, it's like, hey, I'm out on the road, I had a flat tire and I don't have a spare. Well, you should have a spare. That's called preparedness. And whether it's life today, the little things like a flat tire, or it becomes a big thing like an apocalypse happens of some sort, preparedness is the key word. So again, the short answer, could The Walking Dead happen? No. Could there be a fungus evolve like in the TV show The Last of Us, the video game The Last of Us? Could that happen, a cordyceps type thing? It could. It is possible, I guess, within the realm of a bigger bubble of science. But maybe it's just my opinion more so than a scientific fact. But I'm just going to say no. I don't think we have to fear about someone that is dead actually coming back to life at all. That's like 100% in my book. Could the fungus thing happen or something similar? I'm going to say that's 99.9% no. I mean, I'm thinking it would almost have to be some type of alien thing, right? Like the alien bursting out of your chest, and that's not even the same thing, right? But they could use us as a host to they're young to be able to come forth, a reproduction thing. And isn't that crazy? A lot of the crazy stuff we talked about is really based on furthering the species. Like it's a reproduction thing that's actually going on as far as the cordyceps type thing. Nature's pretty crazy daisy sometimes, but I think we're pretty safe. I think the biggest thing that we have to worry about is other people, wars, people with difference of opinions, things like that. It's hard for us to get over that. It's hard for us to live together sometimes with our different beliefs, with our different ways of thinking. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we have as far as humans going forward. Hey, you guys let me know what you think about it all, of course, down in the comments below. And I'll join you there. This is James in Nashville. As always, thanks for watching and stay tuned for more dead stuff.